here, so the ones that are up at the register. So just kind of want to let you know, in September, we've got 2 of these Let's Make Organic Apple No Bake Cookies. So those are going to be the ones, I've done those in the past before, where I'm up front doing a demo where it's like, they're basically apples with toppings on it, and so it's not a class. It's just kicking off our Organics Month, and so because it's not a class, that doesn't have an end power punch, but this, where is it? Let's Talk About Organics. This is going to be a really fun one. I'm really excited about this one. So it'll be a quick 30-minute training on organics and their benefits and everything. Second part of it is we're going to be making tacos with all organic fillings. Everything's going to be all organic. So we'll have both a meat option as well as a vegetarian option for that one. And since we have kombucha on tap, we'll be doing the kombucha mocktails. And we purposely changed the time with this so we can purposefully end the class right at the same time that we have happy hour with the $2 off. And I will mention, until we're told that we can't do this anymore, we have $2 off coupons, and I think they'll still work with the $2 happy hour. So until that gets taken away from us, I'd take advantage. I'd just take advantage.
The apple was September 2nd, the day after.
Right, so the day after, that's where I'm going to be doing the actual apple class.
And we get credit for that.
That is, yes,
Okay.
because and that one we'll have a recipe and everything, because that's the, just kind of kicking off the Organics Month, and then, apples just being in their prime season, that's where we're doing that then. And then we've got Dr. Michael Doty coming back here to do a class on blood pressure. So he did the cholesterol class, and then we had a lot of questions on blood pressure, so he'll be doing that one then. I do have a decent amount of outreach for September, but I do want to do a class towards the end of September. I had a request to do the apple cider vinegar class again, but if you guys had any special requests, looks like that's a yes on that one. Yeah. Yes. And these are up at the registers as well. So, so I'll go ahead and leave some of these back here. So it would be probably the last week of September, because I have to work it around when I have the meeting, so our nutritionist meeting. So, and then if you guys have a preference of either Thursday or Saturday on that one, just let me know on that. So I have to mention, and then also into October, I'll just mention it now, since it is Celiac Awareness Month, October we'll be doing our gluten-free, both the class as well as the huge tasting fair as well, so, yeah. So I have to mention at the beginning of every presentation that the information being presented today is for educational purposes only and should not be interpreted as medical or professional advice to replace that of your physician or healthcare provider, and does not necessarily reflect the nutritional viewpoints of Natural Groceries by Vitamin Cottage. So based on the incredible feedback we got from, it's Ricci-Lee, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when Ricci-Lee was here the first time, so we ended up bringing her back, and what a great topic. And I think anybody who's gone to any of my classes, we are all well aware of all the misinformation on carbs, and it's just so confusing. I'm so glad that this is the topic that you chose, because I think all of us could use more training on this. So Ricci-Lee Hotz is a registered dietitian nutritionist who completed her dietetic internship and master's degree in nutrition through Arizona State University. Ricci-Lee has recently relocated to the Denver area from Tucson and is excited to bring her nutritional counseling and weight loss practice, A Taste of Health, with her. So that is located, you have your...
the flyers and business cards are over there if you want to just take a look and grab one of those.
So her philosophy of nutrition is unique in that she focuses on providing evidence-based, individualized nutrition recommendations, so important, that emphasize moderation, variety, and how to fit patients' favorite foods into healthy eating lifestyle. So help me to introduce Ricci-Lee Hotz. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get started. Today, like Charmaine introduced, the presentation is going to be on carbs. I named it the good, the bad, and the misunderstood because there's not necessarily an ugly, but misunderstood for sure. So to give you guys a little more education background, it was mentioned a little bit before, but my education behind my nutrition is I have a Bachelor's of Science in Nutrition and Dietetics from the University of Arizona, Master's degree in Nutrition from Arizona State University, and completed my accredited dietetic internship program and registration exam from Arizona State. My research during my master's program was looking at weight and diet related to the gut microbiome. So all of that fun probiotic gut bacteria that you've probably heard a lot about in media these days, and looked at that in college students that were living in the dorms. So when they were going through all of those crazy eating and lifestyle changes. My nutrition experience and specialties is I worked in the past at an intensive outpatient eating disorder and mental health treatment center, and I also currently work in private practice with GI conditions, weight loss, food allergies, sensitivities, athletic performance, diabetes, and more. So outside of nutrition, because not all of us just do one thing. We like to have some fun too. So I am a professional competitive ballroom dancer, and I love trying out new recipes and doing fun, healthy cooking, as well as, of course, spending time with friends and family. So let's make this interactive. When you think of carbs, what are some key words that come to mind?
They turn into sugar.
Turn into sugar. Okay. It's a good one.
Potatoes.
Potatoes. Cool. Bread,
starches.
starches. Awesome.
Healthy and bad carbs.
Healthy and bad carbs. Yeah, there's
delicious.
different kinds.
I love carbs.
Delicious and full of craving, wants, and needs. Definitely. Okay, anything else that comes to mind when you think of carbs, carbohydrates, calories?
Veggies.
I think of
Veggies.
it as energy.
Energy,
Energy, but not protein.
but not protein.
No.
So different types of energy. Okay, very good. Anything else?
Veggies.
Complex?
Veggies.
Veggies. Yep. A lot of people, we forget about some of those extra carbs out there. Anything else? Or does that kind of cover the basic first thoughts? Okay. So, some definitions. Carbohydrate, the sugars, starches, and fibers that are found in foods with a structure consisting of carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens. So this is our super scientific definition. Those are the elements that make up a carbohydrate, and they're strung together in different ways to make the different carbohydrate structures. Plants are your primary source of carbs, other than lactose, which is one other type of carb that is found in dairy products. So lactose, when we think of lactose intolerance, is actually a sugar that people are intolerant to rather than a protein, like where a lot of allergies and sensitivities are normally coming from. Okay, so simple versus complex carbs. Simple carbs are broken down quickly by the body to be used as energy, so those are your most instant acting carbohydrates. Those are found naturally in foods like fruits, milk, and milk products, but also found in processed and refined sugars like candies, table sugar, syrups, soft drinks, etc. So that we're going to go into some detail why simple and complex don't necessarily mean good versus bad, because there's different parts of it. So I don't like to delineate between simple and complex by determining all simple carbs are bad or all complex carbs are good. There's kind of a crossover. Complex carbohydrates are made up of sugar molecules that are strung together in long, complex chains, so it takes longer to break those carbohydrates down. Complex carbs are found in foods like peas, beans, whole grains, and vegetables. So those ones just take longer for our body to break down because it has a longer chain to make into smaller pieces rather than a bunch of small little chains. And one thing I didn't mention, feel free if you have any questions throughout the presentation to ask. You don't have to wait until the end.
Where do you put honey?
Where do you put honey? Honey would be under the simple carbs.
And are the complex carbohydrates the healthier or better?
We'll go into it a little bit more, but in general, complex carbohydrates tend to come along with a healthier concept, but not always.
Okay. I know right after a workout, I've got to have a simple carbs.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's something to consider as well. There's different types and different needs at different times.
So the vegetables are good, but when you get them in the restaurants breaded and deep fried,
Yeah, then you're adding the really simple, super easy processed carb in there, and also that super deep saturated fat.
so chips,
yeah.
because they're fried, are they a carb?
Chips are a carb. And yeah, so
Because they're potatoes usually.
yeah, and so potatoes tend to be a little bit less higher in fiber, so they tend to react a little bit quicker, especially once they've been cooked and broken down that way. If you've got the skin, then it adds a little bit more fiber and other
And a lot of
nutrients.
these vegetable chips,
Mm-hmm.
they're probably not any better.
It depends. I mean, it's still, a lot of them have that extra oil component, so it's got that higher fat side to it. But because a lot of them are made from vegetables, you're not getting as much of the fiber as you would from a raw vegetable. But it's got some little extra nutrients in there that can, you know, a little added benefit, make you feel a little healthier about the chip.
I have a request, if you can remember to do it.
Yeah?
The people in here, when they talk to you, they're projecting to you.
Okay,
not
so
to
repeat
us.
the questions.
I would appreciate it very much if you
Okay.
would repeat the question.
Definitely, I will do that from now on. Thank you for the feedback.
Plus the people on your,
Yes.
not here in this box.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so the last question was, are veggie chips any healthier than other chips? We were basically talking about how those vegetable components can give you some added nutrients, but overall they're still kind of compared in the same way. So they may not provide as much calories, and they may have a couple extra nutrients, but overall there's not too much of a difference. Okay, so what are some foods specifically that you consider carbs? And I really love this image because who doesn't at least guiltily love carbs?
What's he mad about?
He just, that's his face, and he's very serious about the fact that he just loves his carbohydrates. So any foods that you guys consider carbs? What? Pasta?
Is dark chocolate a carb?
No, not really. The added sugar that they put in some dark chocolates would be considered a carb. So the question was, are dark chocolates considered carbs? So depending on how much added sugar there is, if it's super like dark baking dark chocolate, it's gonna have very little sugar to it.
Rice.
Rice, yep. What are some other things that come to mind in terms of foods that you think?
Potato chips.
Potato chips. Potatoes. Yep. What are crackers?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bread.
Nuts.
Nuts, not too much. Those are more proteins and fats. But there is a little bit of a carb component in almost every single food that we eat, even if it's a negligible amount on the food label. That's the interesting thing when we're looking at food, and we say a food's a protein food, it's got other nutrients as well. So that's something that's really things we need to consider. You know, if we're eating a vegetable and we're thinking fiber, there's also some carbs in there too. So just keeping that in mind.
And of course, probably organic, whatever would be the best if you're going to have carbs.
Yeah, so we were talking about organic a little bit. Carbs, organic is kind of another buzzword out there, so we can look and see, well, what are areas we need to really focus on choosing those organic products? And what are areas where that organic label is kind of just a label as to where it comes from, but it's not changing the health benefit. So thinking about things like organic, whereas if we have an organic bar that's filled with natural, like honey as sugar, but it's still got a ton of honey in it, that's not necessarily the healthiest thing for us. So realizing and differentiating between organic not necessarily meaning healthy, carbs not necessarily meaning healthy or unhealthy, and keeping the concept of moderation in mind rather than that one thing is healthy or not healthy.
What is a good measure per meal? How many carbohydrates should you have per meal?
Okay.
And maybe you'll get that.
Yeah.